Today we're going to be continuing with our Itajime Shibori, and this time we're going to be doing a flag fold. Now there are different types of fold, and in the previous live stream I shared with you a square fold. But today we're going to be doing a flag fold, and that's going to give us an eight-sided repeating pattern. Now if you're here, let me know in the chat if the audio is good. It looks good from my end, but let me know how it is from your end, and I will have to fix it if it's not. So I'm going to switch over to my overhead camera, and I'm going to show you some examples of a flag fold piece of fabric, and then I will move on to actual demonstration. So let's go to the overhead camera. So what we have here is we have this is a flag fold, and I used fuchsia dye, which I don't like to use that much. It's a very difficult dye to work with. Hi, Jeanette. Hi, thank you. I'm glad the audio is good. So, as I was saying, and thank you for coming, Jeanette. I don't use the fuchsia dye very much because it's a very difficult dye to work with. You can see some spots here. The dye doesn't dissolve that easily, and it always spots no matter what I do. But this is a flag fold, and it's also known as a 90-degree fold because when it's folded, it forms a 90-degree angle. And as I said, it gives you an eight-sided repeating pattern, so an octagonal pattern. And let me show you another one. And the pattern you get depends on what you're going to be clamping with and how you place it. Okay, so no, that looks like the only one I have in this bundle. So let me put this aside, and I want to show you how to fold the fabric. The folds start out just like they did with the square fold, so the basic start is the same. I've already pre-folded this, but I'm going to unfold it and show you how to fold it. So this is a fat quarter piece of fabric, 18 by 24 inches. And as I said, all the folds start the same. So what I do is take and fold it in half. So now I have a piece of fabric that's 24 by 9 inches. And then you want to take that top layer, that raw edge, and bring it back to the fold. Flip it over and do the same with this raw edge and bring it back to the fold. So that's the starting for every fold for Itajime. Now here comes the hardest part. A lot of people have trouble with this, and I did too when I first started. I want to take this corner here, so this bottom left corner, and I'm going to fold it up here till it reaches that top, and this creates that 90-degree angle. And it's called a flag fold because when soldiers are killed in duty, the flag is folded like this. So now that we have this is the start of everything else. We have our 90-degree angle. Take and flip it over. And then you want to take this corner and bring it up. So this corner and bring it up. That way, actually. And basically, you're just folding on the straight axis right now. And then you just continue to fold. We're going to fold on the angle axis, and then the straight, angle, straight, angle, and straight. And sometimes you won't have enough for a complete fold to finish off, so you just finish off what you have left. So should I do that again? Let's do that again, especially this part. The initial part is pretty basic. I'm going to take this corner, fold it up to here. Flip it over. Take this corner and fold it in. And now you just want to follow each of the folded edges. So that one, that way, that way, that way, that way. in that way. And in this case, I don't have enough for a full fold, so I just fold what I have left over. So that's your basic flag fold or your 90-degree fold. And as I said, it gives you a 8-sided repeating pattern. So what I'm going to do now is put this piece in the soda ash so it can get ready for dyeing. I already have 2 other pieces that are already has soda ash on them. And if you don't know what I'm talking about on the soda ash, be sure and go back and check out my previous live streams, especially the first one, because I go into detail on all of that. Let me reposition my thing. I've got my cords all in the view. Okay. Okay, so I have 2 pieces of fabric already pre-folded in pre-soda ash. And I'm going to put my gloves on so we can go ahead and dye those pieces of fabric. But before I do, let me talk about what we're going to be clamping onto the fabric to provide some resist. So in case you didn't know, Itajime is a technique where you add a physical resist to the fabric, and wherever that resist is, the fabric doesn't take color. So you can use anything for resist. I here have some wood shapes that I cut, and this is just masonite. I have some longer wood shapes that I cut, and this is a PVC molding from the hardware store. And I cut the PVC molding into square pieces. You can use anything. I've used ceramic tiles, I've used glass, I've used metal. Anything that's sturdy enough to be clamped to the fabric can provide resist. So let's just put one of these aside, and I'm going to use these square little pieces here on our folded piece of fabric. I'm just going to refold this a little better. Got a little messed up when I put it in the soda ash and squeezed it out. So I think I'm going to take these pieces and just clamp them on a diagonal on this piece of fabric. So wherever these little pieces of wood, it won't accept any dye. And I like to use these spring clamps, although I will admit they do require a lot of hand strength to use them. So if you can't use those, you might want to try some C-clamps. So I'm going to get them all clamped first before I start putting dye on them. And here's number 2. And you can see I already have a little bit of dye spots from mixing up my dye. So I'm going to use these narrow pieces of wood. And a lot of times I'll just clamp it down the center, but I'm going to clamp it off center and see what happens. I'll just clamp these on. There's that. Now I'm going to take the one out of the soda ash. It should be thoroughly wet by now. And squeeze out the excess moisture. And let's just use this tray. Okay, just get it back neatly. I do like to fold my pieces before I soda ash them because I press my folds in, and I can't very well do that when it's wet. But you don't have to press your folds in. You can just like finger press them and let them just be. You'll get a little bit softer of a pattern. It won't be such a hard edge like it is when it's folded. This does not want to fold back right. Let me start this one over. That's the only thing about when I soda ash it after it's been folded. Sometimes it's just the process of squeezing the excess moisture out will mess up my folds. But just take the time and refold it. And again, this one didn't give me a complete fold at the end, but that's okay. So I think what I'm going to do with this is take and put this triangle on here like this. Or, no, I think I'll do it like this. I said, this is Masonite. There's a background noise on your end, Jeanette. Okay, hold on a minute. Jeanette. It's cold in here. Jeanette. Now there's a little bit of a delay from in the chat, so you may something or maybe something, and we don't get immediately. So I figure out that there is a way to fix that. So. I've got these two triangles on an angle here. I'm going to clamp these like a sticky sound. Is it any better now, chat? Okay, how about now? Does that sound any better? So hopefully that's better. I'm not sure what happened. My program lost all my settings that I had. I did a Windows update, so that's probably why. So I had to recreate everything, and obviously I didn't do it right. Okay, so that's great now. Okay, good. Glad we got that one figured out. Okay, so I'm going to clamp these, and this one's probably going to take 3 clamps. And you want to make sure you clamp it really good. If you don't, dye will seep under the edges of your resist piece. And I don't know, you may like that, but I like to work with things pretty well clamped. I'm going to put that aside and bring back our first piece. And I'm going to start adding dye. So this is a burnt orange. It's a color that I used in the last live stream, but I added a little bit more gray to it because I wanted it more burnt orange color. The previous color was just a little brighter than what I was wanting. So if you haven't watched me make the dyes yet, do go back and watch that first live stream, because there I take you through the process of making the dyes and everything. So this color is I mixed a orange by mixing red and yellow, and then I added a gray to it to tone it down to make it more of a burnt orange. And I'm just going to start applying dye. Yeah, maybe I added too much this time. It's kind of brown. But the color is about 30% lighter once it dyes, or once it dries, rather. And I'm making sure I open up the folds and get dye in between the folds so that I get good coverage. I like to apply my dye with a squeeze bottle like I'm doing here, or with a pipette. And I completely saturate it. The inside is going to be naturally going to be lighter because just the way it lays on the tray, the dye is going to settle on the outside layers more so than the inside layers. And that's really just it on how you apply the dye. So I'm going to set that aside, and I mixed another color. I mixed 2 reds and some gray to try to get a burgundy color. So we'll see what this color looks like. So I'm just going to apply the dye to the outside here. The fabric that I'm using is just a cotton muslin. I am a cotton girl, so I usually work with cotton, but you can work with any natural fiber. You can work with linen, you can work with silks. I do use rayon sometimes. I have a nice rayon bamboo blend that someone gave me, and it dyes really nice. But I generally stick to cotton. Although I'll have to find a new fabric source now that Joann's Fabric is closing. The only one we have here is closing. And the closest one, I think, might be Nashville, which is over an hour away. So I don't know about that. Okay, so that's the burgundy one. And I'll show you the 2 colors side by side so you can see. So that's got more of a reddish tone, and this has more of an orange tone. And I think I'm going to do the final one also in the burgundy color, since I really want to see what that looks like once it's dried. Oops, wrong bottle. I'm going to shake this up a little bit. Let me know if you have any questions, Jeanette. So I'll just apply this on all the edges and then go back and apply some in the middles. Now today I'm only doing 1 color, but this one, especially this one would be ideal to do 3 colors. You could apply 1 color here, another color here, and another color here. That would be really interesting. So I just want to check these real quick, make sure the insides look really good. And I'm going to pour off this excess dye when I let it sit. Otherwise, I'll get the tips of these. Oh, I don't know. Maybe that might be a good idea. Maybe I won't pour it off. I'll just let the tips sit in the dye and see what happens. I'm real big on experimenting. You never know what you think might be something you won't like. It'll turn out to be something that you really like. So I'm just going to let this one, I can see that this end is sitting in the pool of dye, and so is this end. So I'm going to let those sit in the pool of dye. So now that I have these all dyed, They need to sit for at least 4 hours. I let mine sit overnight. The longer you let them sit, the deeper the color is going to get. But they do need to sit for at least 4 hours. So I do like to let them sit overnight, and they need to be in a warm environment. I think for my second live stream, I forgot to take them out of my studio because it's freezing here in Kentucky and the color didn't take as well. So I'll have to take these and put them in my laundry room and let them sit for overnight. And in tomorrow's live stream, we are going to rinse these out and I'll show you what the fabrics look like. But that's really it for today. The dyeing process itself The dyeing process itself doesn't take long. It's the waiting for the chemical reaction, because these dyes, they chemically bond with the fabric, and that's what the soda ash is for. It allows that bonding action to take place, but it does take time. So these will sit overnight in my laundry room. Tomorrow we will rinse those out. But unless you have any other questions for me, that's it for today. But I do want to ask you that if you haven't already, please like the video and share and subscribe to my channel. I finally reached over 1,000 subscribers, and now I am working on my next 1,000. Thank you, Jeanette. I apologize for the little audio glitch, but I'm glad we got it figured out. And thank you for coming. That's it for today, and I'll see you tomorrow, I hope. Bye-bye.